how should we move in the world? Of course, sometimes slowly and softly, but mostly very carefully, because we're destroying the world. So many things are disappearing because of the way we carelessly take over landscape, water, air, animals, that human beings cannot survive without these elements. This piece is a continuation of the concerns I spoke about in Reanimation, but it's a different and it's a completely new work. In this work, I'm referring to these miracles, for instance, the bees, and then the fish. I began to think about fish and the situation of the fish in the sea, and how is the wind changing. And then the last room, which is the homeroom, is our room. And so I don't specifically describe these situations, but I refer to them in a more poetic way. I'm very involved with the way Haldor Laxness writes about nature, both beautifully, poetically, and also in a witty and sharp way. When I considered his novel Under the Glacier in 2010, the first thing I think of is that the glaciers are melting. So the subject became about the world that is changing. Under the Glacier was written in the 60s, and now the world is different from the 60s. That glacier is gone, probably. In the novel Under the Glacier, there's a quote about the bee, the honeybee. The honeybee takes pollen and takes it to the bee's hive, and honey is produced. And it's an amazing colony of workers, the queen bee, and so on. So it's a miracle of nature, in a way, you could say that. We live in a world full of those. And so that was the seed of this piece. I don't think that in this work there are victims or killers. They're simply children and people. In a way, we're subjects of big corporations in the world and big organizations. It's very hard for us to communicate with or change or alter. But I don't refer to that in this piece. They're simply children. And it's what do you think of seeing children with animals? All the effects in these rooms are made without elaborate machinery. They're all made in my studio. The special effects are simply juxtapositions of images. I'm thinking about the picture and how do you make a picture, and what do you say in the picture? What does an image say? So I'm thinking of that in the juxtaposition of foreground and background and the layering of material. So video gave me this opportunity to layer, and it's related to poetry. How is poetry structured? And so I think of my work in those terms. I got the idea for using mirrors. Again, I work with literature. Literature is one of my main inspirations. And I got the idea to work with mirrors from reading the short stories of Borges in the 60s when they were first translated. And he mentions mirrors in his short stories. So when I began to work in performance, my first prop was a mirror. And so for me, the mirror is a device to change the image and the space, the audience's perception. When I was asked to do this project for this pavilion, my first thought when I came to Venice to look at it was the tree piece out there. The trees relate to the content of my work. When you come into the pavilion, you see the sticks on the stage. On the stages, you see these long sticks, which are actually from Cape Breton, Canada. And the children use the sticks in the videos in different ways. I've always used sticks in my work for extending my arm to make a drawing far away on the ground or on the wall. So it's part of my vocabulary. And there are trees throughout the piece. Trees are part of us. Well, there are ghosts in this piece. The text is based on ghost stories from Cape Breton, Canada, where I go in the summer. And I think that people might leave with these different subjects on their mind: the children, the nature, the ghosts, the fish, the bees, the wind. And they might think about ghosts in a different way. What is a ghost? What does it mean? Art gives a great deal of pleasure in a challenging and demanding way. Art is necessary in this world. If we think about the world we're living in and the fact that we're here in Venice and there's so many artists together making their work and speaking to each other through their art, that we will communicate on a different level with each other. And art also bridges the gap between different cultures, because I can look at an image from China or India and I can understand something is communicated to me.